Hello everyone and welcome back to my Senate election prediction videos where I take a look at the Senate races going on across America this year and give you my thoughts, predictions, and analysis of the races. Today we are looking at the state of Missouri, a seat currently held by the Republican Party and two-term incumbent Roy Blunt. In 2016, Senator Blunt won with a margin of victory of just over 2%. Donald Trump in 2016 won the state of Missouri by 18%. His margin of victory in 2020 was 15%, so a slight decrease from 2016 to 2020. The two nominees are Trudy Busch Valentine is the Democratic nominee. She is an heiress to the Anheuser-Busch fortune and is a longtime Democratic donor and activist. The Republican nominee is Eric Schmitt. Incumbent Senator Roy Blunt, at the beginning of 2021, decided to retire after a tough re-election in 2016 in which a major issue was made of his residency or lack thereof in the state of Missouri. Eric Schmitt, the current Attorney General of Missouri, won against a heavy field of other Republicans, including two members of the Missouri House delegation and former Governor Eric Greitens, who had to resign in 2018 over a scandal involving an extramarital affair and charges of blackmail. And he was facing the prospect of being impeached by the Republican-controlled Missouri legislature. For a while, it looked like that Eric Greitens would win, but in the end, Eric Schmitt won the primary and is now the nominee. In the primary, on the day before the primary, Donald Trump endorsed Eric. He did not specify if he endorsed Greitens or Schmitt, and there was no corrective statement. Both Schmitt and Greitens claimed that the endorsement was for them. Interestingly enough, there was another candidate that was unknown that was also named Eric in the Republican primary. As I said, the race in 2016, Blunt won by just over 2%. That was due in large part to the fact that he had a well-funded and very savvy opponent who ran some very appealing ads and had won statewide, Jason Kander. And issues regarding Blunt's residency in the state of Missouri were raised. The fact that his official residency in the state is just a condo and an apartment in Branson and not an actual home, that he actually lives in Washington, D.C. I think this is kind of a cheap attack usually on politicians, and Blunt was probably feeling pressure that it would be a difficult race once more. He did not object to Donald Trump's or to Joe Biden's electoral victory like the state's Democratic senator, and feared, possible MAGA challenge in the primary. But if you take a look at the votes cast in the primary, 64% were cast for Republicans. 35% were cast for Democrats. Both parties had competitive primaries and were relatively very close primaries. But the two nominees are Schmitt and Busch Valentine. And I believe that this is a pretty easy race to call. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. Missouri used to be a swing state, and, for a long time, it was the bellwether state of America on election night for president. But in recent years, Missouri has been similar to Ohio in that it's shifted pretty solidly into the Republican column, and I think that will continue with this race here, and that Eric Schmitt will win election to the United States Senate, and it will be a hold for the Republicans in Missouri.